In this video, I'm going to react to 13 etiquette rules in the US that surprise most foreigners. Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. This is the place where I react to music, media, sports, anime, anything related to popular culture. I'll watch it with an open mind and give you my 100% honest reaction to it. And if you could please hit that like button early, I'd really appreciate it. Now, this is going to be interesting because, despite the US and the UK being very similar, close allies, similar cultures, everything like that, there's certain things, maybe behaviors that, things that are okay in the UK that aren't in America and vice versa. I've been told that in America, queuing isn't as kind of natural as it is in the UK. Like everywhere here, like you form a queue almost instinctively. I don't know whether that's the case in all states. Maybe that only applies in some states. But yeah, I thought this video would be quite useful in, pointing things out to me, just so that when I eventually get over there in March, April time, I don't commit any faux pas. So let's go. There's going to be me reacting to 13 etiquette rules that surprise most foreigners about the US. Let's do it.
So our parents teach us to be polite, but what you learned as a kid doesn't always apply when you're in another part of the world. So if you're heading to the US anytime soon, I've got some tips for you on what we Americans consider the rules of etiquette and some stuff that's totally okay in the US that other countries might consider rude. Let's start off with my favorite, food etiquette. Number 1. Feel free to ask for some condiments. If you're eating out and your food is tasting a little bland, it's completely fine to ask for salt, pepper, or sauces to add a little zing to your meal.
But aren't those already at the table? Like usually there's salt, pepper, some basic garnishes already on the table in the center usually. So aren't those already there?
I know some places in Europe see it as an insult to the chef if you start adding a little spice of your own. But don't worry about that in the US. Nobody's going to be offended or give you weird looks if you ask the waiter for a bottle of ketchup. Even if you're at someone's house visiting, they won't see it as a jab to their culinary skills either. Some just like it spicier than others.
To be honest, that's completely fair enough, really. Like, at the end of the day, it's really hard to cook something that everyone is going to universally like. So yeah, that seems totally fair.
Number 2. Always tip. Okay, well, maybe not always, but it's a rare occurrence if you don't tip your waiter, hairdresser, cab driver, and so on, and only if the service was really awful. But even then, a lot of Americans feel guilty about not leaving any tip.
Wow.
The rule is 15 to 20% of the bill. So get ready to do some mental math each time you eat out.
The cost of living must be really high in a lot of places in America because like wherever you go, it seems like you have to tip, right? So you constantly have to pay more than the product or service that you've purchased. Must be pretty expensive.
I've heard that tipping isn't a thing in some countries, especially in East Asia, where restaurant staff always provide good service no matter what. But in the US, it's simply a sign of gratitude that your waiter did a good job, even though they're probably tired, their feet hurt, and they've got a bunch of other tables to tend to. Number 3.
Someone in another video that I reacted to said that tipping is to ensure prompt service or proper service. I mean, shouldn't proper service or prompt service be the norm? Like, shouldn't that be guaranteed? Like, I used to be a paralegal. I never got tipped. I never got tipped once. I mean, teachers don't get tipped and they're probably among the hardest working people. They work a lot of hours. So it's just funny how, certain professions, I get that, waiters only they can make a really low hourly wage, but I feel like employers should pay them more. I feel like to basically tell the customer you have to make up the deficit feels a bit unfair to me, but I don't know.
Clean up after yourself at fast food restaurants. Of course, if you're going to the States, I imagine a lot of your eating out will be done in fast food joints. You'll see a lot more of those than your traditional sit and be served by a waiter types of places. But anyways, if you're finished eating and your tray is now full of wrappers, used napkins, and empty boxes, take it to the trash can and dispose of the garbage yourself. Most fast food places don't have a separate cleaning staff for that. It's pretty much always the cashier that needs to find time between ringing people up to go clean up the dining area. So we try to help them out a bit and clean up after ourselves.
That's fair. I like that.
Number 4. Open gifts immediately in front of the giver.
Wow.
Now, I was pretty surprised when I found out that opening a gift as soon as you get it is considered bad manners in certain parts of the world. I guess some cultures see it as kind of greedy when you start tearing into a present right away. In the US, it's pretty much the opposite. Open it as soon as you get it, right in front of the giver. That way, they can see your reaction and you can thank them right there on the spot. There are also no rules about using both hands or a certain hand when giving or receiving a gift. Just grab it and open it already. Number 5.
I like that one. I like it. Just because you can then open it. Oh my God, thank you so much. Come here. Oh. Yeah, I like it.
5. Be ready for small talk. How about that game last night? Whew! When's this weather gonna let up already? Yes, Americans love small talk, so don't be surprised if a stranger just starts chatting with you while you're waiting in line or sharing an elevator. It could be sports, the weather, traffic, anything just to have a short, light conversation. I can't really say why we like talking to people we don't even know, but I mean, if you're sharing a space with someone, are you just gonna totally ignore their presence? That'd be awkward. Oh yeah, and you'll get asked how you're doing a lot, even by strangers. It's usually waiters and cashiers that'll greet you with a, "Hi, how are you today?" Just answer with "Fine, and you?" Even if you're not exactly having a fantastic day.
I like that one as well because, human beings, we're social animals. What harm is it just to have a quick, friendly conversation? Yeah, it's nice.
Number 6. Expect a lot of smiles. First of all, let me bust the myth that Americans constantly walk around smiling ear to ear. Nobody does that, because that'd be weird. But again, if you're sharing a space and making small talk with a stranger, or maybe someone opens or holds the door for you, they'll smile at you, and it's polite if you do the same. Cashiers and waiters also greet you with a big friendly smile. I read somewhere that this goes back to our early history as a country built by people who all spoke different languages. They didn't understand each other all that well, so they just smiled. But I still think we just like to be open and kind. Number 7. Respect the bubble. Now here's a pretty funny thing about Americans. We're friendly, we love to chat, but we also really like our personal bubble. The unspoken rule is to stand about an arm's length away when you're talking with someone.
Okay, so that's about a meter away. Yeah, that seems normal. I think that's pretty much the same as over here. Unless it's someone in your family or a close friend.
We're also not too big on touching during conversation, because this can be misconstrued as a way of flirting. Of course, the rule doesn't apply with close friends and family, but still, even then, most Americans aren't too touchy-feely. Number 8. And definitely no kissing. I know in countries like Spain and France, people often greet each other with a peck or two on the cheek. There might be some Americans who greet the European way, but overall, we don't kiss each other as a way to say hi. Again, my personal bubble is my sanctuary, so don't come in it with puckered lips ablazing.
I'm just imagining someone, "Hey, how you doing?"
It's best to just say hi, smile, and keep it at that. Number 9. Being loud is usually okay. The stereotype of the loud American tourist might ring true most of the time, since we tend to project our voices, even out in public. It's not that we're yelling all the time, but I'd say we certainly speak louder than people in Europe or Asia. I've gotten some friendly reminder to take it down a few decibels when visiting my friends abroad. But hey, if you're ever in—
I think that's because American buildings are probably bigger on average than buildings in the UK and Europe. So if someone's further away from you, you're going to need to project your voice louder so they can hear you. At least that's my theory.
In the States, feel free to laugh out loud or get particularly animated while telling a joke. But of course, there's a time and place for that. You still have to hush down in places like libraries. Shh. Number 10. Indirectness is politeness. So here's the thing about Americans. A direct, "no, I don't want," or "like that," is seen as pretty rude.
Really?
But if an American gives you a polite, "no thanks, I'd rather not," or "I don't think that's the best idea," that doesn't mean that they're on the fence about it. No means no, even if it's said indirectly and super politely. It's frowned upon to try and convince someone to do something or change their mind because it's seen as pushy and disrespectful to their wishes. Number 11. Sit in the back seat of a cab. Now this is something interesting I found out about Australia and New Zealand. There, it's considered rude to take the back seat of a cab because it's almost like you're showing that you expect to be chauffeured by someone who's lower than you.
What? I mean, at the end of the day, you're getting in a taxi, so you are being chauffeured. This one's weird. In the UK, we get in the back as well. It's what we do.
Well, don't worry about that in the US. In fact, you should ride in the back seat because the driver might give you a weird look otherwise. It's not an elitist thing, and you can still make friendly small talk from the back. Just respect the driver's personal bubble, that's all. Number 12. Feel free to keep your shoes on inside.
Wow.
I had a friend from Russia recently ask me, why is it that in all American movies, people are walking around their house with their shoes on? And I just told him straight up, because that's what we do. Now, there are plenty of families here that don't have a no shoes indoors policy, although I'd say the majority don't. So here's a good rule of etiquette to live by if you ever visit an American's home. When you walk in, ask if you should take your shoes off at the door. If they say, "Nah, you're okay," don't feel bad about walking around their house in your shoes. I know it seems bizarre.
Yeah, this one is definitely different here. Because most people here have carpet, wood flooring as well. But if you've got your shoes on, and unless your shoes are properly clean at the bottom, on the sole, you're gonna muck up the person's carpet. So I just feel like just take your shoes off, and it's more comfortable. I prefer walking around in socks or barefoot, in slippers or sliders. Just feels more comfortable to me.
To most people around the world, but it's A-OK here. 13. It's okay to keep it casual. Overall, I'd say the biggest thing about Americans is that most of us are pretty casual and laid back. If you're ever out and about in the US, you'll see a lot of people running errands in sweatpants, gym shorts, baseball caps, and even their PJs. But it's not just about clothes either. We often keep it on a first-name basis, even with people that are generally referred to more formally in other countries. For example, most of the time your boss is just Jim or Janet, not Mr. or Mrs. Jones. You might start off more formally, but I guarantee you that person will say right off the bat, "Hey, call me Jim." Now, what would be weird is if their name isn't Jim. Maybe it's Howard or Benny. Then what you say is, "Hey, call me a cab."
What?
So, are any of these Americanisms different or the same in your country? And to all my fellow Americans, can you add anything to the list? Let me know down in the comments.
Very interesting indeed. Just as I suspected, a lot of those things very similar to the UK, about getting in the cab at the back of the cab, things like that, the personal space and only touching, in conversation close friends and family. But things like keeping shoes on indoors is probably a big no-no over here, just because, you don't want to risk ruining someone's carpet, bringing outdoor dirt into the house. So yeah, just as I suspected, a lot of similarities, a few differences, but yeah, interesting video. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, turn on bell notifications, and keep throwing the recommendations my way. I know I say it all the time, but they genuinely help me out, because if I know you enjoyed watching something, I'll definitely enjoy reacting to it. So like, subscribe, turn on bell notifications, keep throwing the recommendations, and I'll catch you in the next one.